afternoon, everyone. It's really an honor to be here. I am Krushnaa Patil, and I am here to ask you a few questions today. I climbed Everest in 2009. Did I question a full stop by climbing Everest? Did I question it by climbing it in 2009? Did I question it by being a girl? Did I question it by being from Maharashtra? Did I question it being an Indian? Or did I question it as a 19-year-old? When I started to climb Everest, one of the first things that I told myself was that the first person to climb Everest was in 1953. The first woman to climb Everest was in 74, Junko Tabai from Japan. The second woman to climb Everest in the world was Indian, Miss Bachendri Pal. That was in 84. And in 2009, I was 19, and Samantha Larson from the US had climbed Everest in 2008, becoming the youngest person then in the world to climb. And I told myself, really, I definitely have better equipment than Tenzing Norgay. I'm definitely younger than Bachendri ma'am was in 84. And considering Samantha had done it at 18 in 2008, I definitely could do it in 2009. I mean, there was nothing that could stop me from that. But this thing of being an Indian, of being a Maharashtrian, or of being a girl, or of being 19 years old, is something that society has put on you. Imagine this. It was 5:30 in the morning. I had walked from 8 in the night from Camp 4 on Everest, which is somewhere actually here where I'm standing. And then I walked this huge football field till there. And then I go up from here, here. This is the balcony. And then we go up here, and this is the south summit. This is at like 8,500 meters. This is the Hillary step, and that is the summit. And at about 8, I started here. 8:30, I was here. It was a perfect night. We had amazing weather. Like you all know, Everest is quite crowded. When I was climbing, the night I was climbing, we were about 100 people attempting for summit. And the first, like the slowest climbers started about maybe 6:37. And then the later batches 8. And then like the fastest climbers will show off and leave at like 9:30 or 10. And we all sort of get to the summit for, the sunrise. We were walking, and throughout the night there was like flashes happening, and I continuously felt like the media was following us because there was so much flashing happening from behind. I thought it was other fellow climbers, sort of taking pictures. And I didn't turn around, I swear, till I reached balcony. And at balcony, when I reached, it was about 2, maybe actually 12 or 1 or 2 o'clock maybe. And I turned around, and it was nobody had, I was wondering how someone had the patience to keep on removing a camera and taking pictures in the pitch darkness. I'm like, who the hell is doing that? And when I turned around and looked, it was lightning happening like in India, in Kanchenjunga. And it was like, the stars and the gods had come out to take pictures of us as we climbed. At 5:30, when I was at South Summit, the sun was rising from the east, and there was a circle of the horizon all around me. The horizon was not in one direction. It was a circle of a horizon all around me, and I was in the center of it. And from where I stood, I saw one half of the earth in a shadow or darkness, and one half of it completely illuminated, glowing with the glaciers and the snow-capped mountains that we had on this side, and an shadow of Everest that went all the way above the horizon on the left. And it was the most spectacular moments ever. And the first question that I was asked when I came back was, beep, beep, how do you feel as a girl on top of Everest? Maybe if I had worn lesser clothes, I would have felt more like a girl. But did not happen there. Climbing Everest and doing the 7 summits was, well, like he said, and you totally nailed it, whoever gave my introduction. I always wanted to travel the world, okay? I always wanted to travel the world, but I never wanted to be a tourist. Like, I didn't want to go to a place and be like, oh, mera photo yahan pe lo, or mera photo yahan pe lo. It's like, please, that's not happening. So when I went on Everest, my team was, I was in a team of 8 people, and all of them, Everest was their last 7th summit. And I was 2 years into mountaineering. I've been going to the mountains since I was like 3 years old. Sorry, 3rd standard. But I feel like it was 3 years old, it was 3rd standard. And they all, it was their last 7th summit, and I was like, I didn't even know about the 7 summits, you know. India being, we have the tallest mountains in the world, we know nothing about mountaineering in India. Like, I think when I went on Everest is when I learned of the 7 summits because my team members had all done it. And I said, hey, this is like the coolest thing on planet Earth. Why don't more people do it? Like, you get to see the whole world. You get to go to Antarctica and climb the highest peak. And I mean, what better way of seeing the world is there? So, which is why I was totally, I mean, you know, climbing was probably one of the things, the main things, but it was more of the adventure. I think mountaineering is not just about climbing a mountain. It's about having the spirit of sort of doing it differently. But 7 summits changed my perspective. I had not seen the world in this way. The 7 summits and Everest gave me an exposure to the world that I had not imagined to be true. I mean, I'd always heard that India was known for child marriages, but at 19 or at 20 when you're I was in South America climbing, and these French climbers came up to me and said, you're a 20-year-old girl, Indian girl, and you're not married? And I was angry. I was like, I didn't know that India has this, you know, what is it called? India has this perception of India that by 20 all of us are married was just kind of ridiculous. And it got me thinking. India is in a perfect place today. For me, I think that we have the largest pool of seemingly impossible problems to solve. And that is a gold mine. We have the youngest population in the world. I mean, China is going to be really old very soon. So, I mean, with the Kama Sutra that we have, that's the least we could have done. You know, be the youngest population in the world. When I was in school, I used to, the independence movement and the civil disobedience movement and the 1857 uprising were things that I totally loved. I always wished that I was born in that time so that I could have gone and killed a few. But today I realized that we don't really need to kill a few, we just need to kill a few problems. And here I would like to quote a fellow ink fellow, Arunachalam, the sanitary napkin man, who said that to be a millionaire in India today, or anywhere actually, all you need to do is to solve a problem that your community or your society is facing, and you will be a millionaire. Entrepreneurial style, considering we are an e-cell here. And this is something that got me thinking. Today, as a mountaineer, I don't want to be just a mountaineer. I mean, climbing the mountains and being on a mountain is the most natural thing that I can do. It is where I find myself to be myself completely and truly. But today, when I go on a mountain, it doesn't satisfy me. Maybe age catches on. I was 19 when I climbed Everest and when I did the 7 summits, and there was nothing else I wanted to do. I was on Makalu last year, 2014. It's the 5th highest mountain in the world, and I was not satisfied anymore. And it wasn't about the climb. It was about the fact that we today as professions can do much more than what a mountaineer is supposed to do. I'm supposed to climb a mountain and inspire people, but I can work with the scientists, or I can work with innovators, and I can make it possible to come to a place where I can be an environmentalist, where I can actually change the way our society functions. Today, I feel that in technology and in science, we have had enough innovation, we've had enough technology advancement in a way that we can look in both directions. Are we truly the most intelligent species in the world when we can see that we're destroying our environment and we continue to do that? Today, I think we can stop and work in collaborations. It's time to pick up the full stops from professions. Our professions don't need to stop at only the thing that we do. Technology has given us the freedom to be able to involve with each other and help make a holistic progress in a way that we can sustain this for many, many more years to come. For any plan to be successful, I remember when I was training, one of the first things that I was taught was that any mistake on a mountain, whether it is a death, whether it's a non-summit, whether it's a mishap, whether it's an avalanche, whether it's anything that goes wrong in an expedition, can somehow be back calculated to a logistical problem. In the mountains when we go, for us, there's no second chance. There's no, I'll come back and do this better. There is no, oh, it wasn't a good shot, but maybe I'll survive. If there is a crevasse and I have to jump it, I have only one chance to jump it. And if I am scared even for a second, I will not put my 100%. I will hold back and fall into the crevasse. So one of the first things that we're told as mountaineers is also summiting is optional and returning is mandatory. Initially, I used to find this very contradictory. To say that you have to give your 100%, but you have to know where to stop. And I think I learned it in the toughest way possible. I was on Makalu for 2 years in a row, 2013 and 14. And we were 150 meters from the summit. And we had to decide to turn around because we ran out of rope. 150 meters from the summit, we've stayed at base camp for more than a month at 6,000 meters. The first mountain that I climbed was a mountain called Draupadi Ka Danda 2. It was 5,670 meters. And the base camp of Makalu was 5,670 meters. And we stayed there for about 1.5 months. We went for an amazing summit push. I remember we sat at about 3 o'clock on this ledge trying to wait for the wind to stop and the sun to just come out a little bit so that we can hit the summit. It was the last maybe 200, 300 meters at that point. And my climbing partner was next to me, Arjun Vajpayee. And far, far behind him was Everest. We were on Makalu and I could see Everest. Everest is like 20 kilometers crow fly distance from Makalu. And I could see both the sides of Everest, and on both the sides there were these tiny lamps, climbers making their way to the summit. And we were on Makalu and I was like, Arjun, look, there are climbers climbing on Everest too. I mean, isn't that amazing? And he was really tired, almost like sleeping. He was like, dude, they are climbing Everest. Nobody cares what you're doing. And then it sort of, hits that we have to come back to society. We have to come back to, I mean, if I had reached South Summit and come back, I wouldn't have been here to speak about my Everest climb. I would have been the same person had I been 100 meters lower from Everest, but I think it's something that we all forget. My first expedition was the pre-Everest, and I'm saying a lot of first expeditions. I'm very confused which was my first expedition. But pre-Everest NIM expedition and my Everest expedition were very different for me. In the pre-Everest NIM expedition, which was an army expedition also, I had to continuously prove myself. My team was such, it was the army expedition, so you can understand, but I had to continuously prove myself that I have to be there, that I can do better, that, you know, all of it. As a mountaineer, it was my first expedition. My second expedition, which was Everest, I was the princess. I was the only girl in a team of 8 men from all over the world, mostly above their 40s. So you can imagine I was like the daughter, oh, sunshine and all of that, you know. But if I had exchanged those 2 teams, and team is, I think, the second most important thing to say whether something becomes successful or not. If those 2 teams had been switched, if my first expedition was, oh, my sweet sunshine, you can climb anything, and my Everest expedition was, really, you have to prove yourself now, I don't think I would have been the same mountaineer that I am today. So I would just like to end by saying that it has amazing power to question the full stop. It's amazing to always, always question the full stop. Thank you.